This mouse is probably the most boring mouse you've ever seen. A brother of mine got it at the 99 cents only store for a whopping $2, and it's wireless to top it off. When he told me he found this, I was pretty surprised, and I was like really, like $2? Well, I mean a dollar 99, whatever. But for $2, I mean it's crazy that you can get something like this nowadays. I mean, I know technology's gotten cheap, but it's still pretty surprising. It's I mean, about what you'd expect in a regular mouse. You know, you got your left and your right clicks, you got your scroll wheel, your click, but this one also happens to have a DPI button here. So when you're using this, you actually have the option of 3 different DPI modes. And on the bottom, there's not a whole lot. There's your optical sensor there, and then the LED. Inside here, we've got a compartment, and that just fell out, the receiver. You've got your storage for the receiver, and it uses 2 AAA batteries. Unfortunately, I don't have the package for it, but my brother was saying that on the package there was some instructions about pushing a connect button on the bottom of the unit somewhere, and he couldn't find it. And then when he gave it to me, of course, I couldn't find it either. There's like absolutely nothing on the bottom of this thing. And it turns out you actually don't need to connect anything. After you plug this into your PC or laptop, whatever, and it detects it, the mouse automatically turns on. So as it is right now, even though it's got batteries, the LED on the bottom doesn't come on until you hook up the little USB plug or the adapter into a computer. The bottom here is it doesn't have the little Teflon pads like you'd see in other mice to help it slide around. These are actually just molded into the case. So everything about this mouse is just they've tried to make it as they've obviously tried to make it like as cheap as possible. I mean, obviously they're going to do that if they're going to sell it for $2. So the whole top part here is, it looks like it's just one piece, and then the bottom is all just one piece with, like I said, the little Teflon pads molded in. And I mean, the only other pieces would be like this wheel, and then probably the little piece for the button there, unless that's like part of the bottom. I don't know. We'll find out when we open it up. So in comparison to like a more brand name wireless mouse like this little Logitech M305 here, I mean, we have a few other things here. This one actually has like an on and off button. This little slider here unlocks the top, so you can replace the AA battery. I mean, this one also has like its own little built-in receiver holder. Oh, let's compare the size of the receivers here. They are actually pretty identical looking. There's not that much difference between them. Then on the bottom, I mean, this one they're gone now, but this one used to have those little Teflon pads to slide around. And I mean, other than that, it does, like, you know, the basic stuff, your left, right click, wheel, and all that. This one doesn't have the DPI switch or anything, and obviously this one's a much more expensive mouse, but there's also a lot more. I mean, this one's got the rubber grip here on the side. This one actually has like an LED here to indicate like status when it's on. One thing this one also has that the cheap $2 one doesn't is that this one uses screws to hold it all together, so this one's easy to take apart. This one, I have no idea if when we take it apart, if it's you know, if it's glued together or what. It looks like this cover is somewhat coming off, but I haven't taken it apart just yet because I didn't want to completely break it before I had a chance to just kind of play with it a bit. And I mean, it's for being as cheap as it is. I mean, it does the job. You can, you know, do everything you would do with a normal mouse. There's not really much of a point to demoing it because, I mean, what am I going to do? Like, show you, you know, the cursor like going around the screen? That's you know, basically what it's meant for. So and it does what it you know, that job pretty well. And actually the range isn't too bad. You can use it from quite a distance away, and it still responds pretty nicely. As for battery life, I can't really tell you how long it actually lasts. These batteries have actually been here for a few months, and I haven't exactly like used it like, you know, like frequently, like say every day or something, but every now and then, you know, I did use it just to kind of give it some use. And these batteries are still holding a charge, so that kind of means that, or to me, it kind of means that there's not really a super high current draw or anything when this thing's just sitting there in standby and not being used. This, like I said, this LED on the bottom here for the, for the sensor doesn't actually come on until the receiver's plugged in. So yeah, it's not sitting there draining like huge amounts of power when it's not being used. So with all that said, I guess only thing left to do is to open it up. And since this one here is not too difficult to open up, I guess we'll open this one up too and kind of compare the electronics inside. As I was taking the batteries off, I realized that if I take it out and put it back in, you'll see the LED come on for like a second there. But after that, it just turns off. I guess if it doesn't detect the receiver, it won't stay on. So batteries, just pop these out. As you can see, no screws or anything in there. You can see a couple of wires running down here from what I'm guessing is going to be the positive and negative terminal. I can't tell if this is the other side, but that's probably going to be the ones that run into the board. Oh, actually, it's funny. Look at the bottom here. So see, obviously, we're not going to be wasting any money designing a label for this thing. Everything that's text on the bottom here is just embossed into the plastic. So it just says wireless mouse compatible with all kinds of motherboards. DOS of CPU, Win 7, 2000, XP Vista operating system. And then obviously made in China with a couple of things there that who knows if they actually comply with. So, alright, that's, yeah, that. And then the only other things engraved in here is the 1.5 volt AAA and the symbols there. Which, it actually, the texture on this is not super terrible. They've actually, I guess, put some effort into that. And, I can't get it to really focus on there, but yeah, you can see that they have actually applied some texture to it, so it's not like super just like cheap smooth plastic. And you can see that right there on the button it says DPI, and it's actually not that bad for being such tiny text on there. It's surprisingly not all distorted or warped or anything. And then the knob has some knurling on it for grip, and that actually doesn't feel too bad. It clicks. You can feel it kind of notch in pretty okay. It's not super terrible. Okay, so now to figure out how this thing comes apart, I'm thinking it's just going to be a matter of prying it open. I don't know if it's been glued on or what. I think I might have to get like a tool or something. Oh, actually, there it goes. Oh, it looks like it's got clips. Oh, that might be able to put it back together then. So this is coming off. This side here looks like I just have to sort of pull it forward. This side came out. Oh, there we go. So there we go. We can see the little clip right there. So I might have to push it back. There it goes. Actually, that wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be. So there's the top. You can see just one whole chunk of plastic. And then here's the bottom. It looks like there's actually, wow, there's 3 pieces to this. So there's the very bottom here. It's kind of like a little tub. And then the top, and then there's another one in here. So this is where that button's molded into. And there's the rotary encoder for the knob. It's actually looks identical to something that you'd see in other mice. So it looks like we have a couple of clips there, and then possibly, I don't know, it doesn't really seem like those are clips right here, but it looks like I should just be able to push these inwards that way. Okay, so that released that side and that released that side. So now looks like somehow it should pop up. Okay, there's clips on that side too. Only problem is I can't tell. Oh, okay. These have to be pushed in like this. It looks like. And trying to push on it and trying to pry it up at the same time. It's not that easy. Come on. Oops, sorry about that. I think that's how it goes. Okay, there it goes. And there it is. That's the third piece. And oh geez, no wonder they can get it so cheap. It looks like everything is built into that sensor there. And surprisingly, they've actually used a connector for the battery. I thought it was just going to be like some wire soldered straight onto the board there. Got a crystal, and this is just held in with some clips here, so this will come out easily. There's the board. So we got LED resistor here, another little tech switch there, some micro switches here, another tech switch right there for that. That's, oh no, that would be the DPI. Never mind. I was about to say that maybe that's the connect button they were talking about. I almost forgot. So that's the wheel. Pretty simple, just one molded piece there, and that's it. There's the antenna. Not too much else to see. So I thought maybe there would be like the sensor, and then there'd be like another chip for everything, but everything is built into that. Even the transmitter receiver. That's the antenna output there. Got the two here coming in from the crystal there. All the inputs for the switches are up on that side there. Got our LED. There's the pin that controls the LED. Or actually, it would be that one right there that goes to the resistor, because this one here is one of the ones that goes directly to the battery, and then this is the other one. So that's it. Oh, and look, and they actually have a cap in there too. That's just crazy. I didn't know that they actually had any devices like that pretty much like everything in one. After I had recorded all my footage and I was in the process of editing it, I remembered that I should probably look up and see if there's a part number on the whole sensor assembly. And it turns out there is, or at least what I think is a part number, but unfortunately looking up information on Google brought up absolutely nothing. So as I sat there and edited a little more, I realized that there's a little, what looks like to be a little cover on the bottom side of the sensor. And so I tried to pry it off, and to my surprise it actually came off with no issues. And we can actually see that there's two separate little die inside of that package, one of them being the little imaging module and the other being the controller and the transceiver for the unit. So I tried to get some, or as best as I could, some shots of the two die right there, and here you can actually see them a little bit better. You see that the one on the left there has a square area, which should actually be like all the little individual imager elements. And if we look at the one on the right there a little bit closer, we can see that there's like a bunch of separate little blocks there. On the bottom right is going to be what I think is the transceiver unit. The wire that's like farthest to on the very bottom right corner is, I believe, the one that went to the antenna, unless it's the one that's more in the middle there. I'm not 100% sure just from looking at this picture here. If we look at this right here, right in between the two die, we see that there's two wires that go directly from the imaging module over to the controller, and I believe that those are probably going to be the like serial communications between the two dies there. And here's another shot of the die on the right hand side controller. This was probably the best picture I could get of like really up close to the imaging module, and you can see that there's a bunch of like tiny little square elements right there. So that whole thing like forms the imager that basically takes like a picture of the surface as the mouse is scanning around. There's a better shot of the very bottom right corner, and we can see that there's two structures there. One that's a very black one, a circular looking, and then there's another one over to a little bit to the right of that's a little more octagonal looking. That's probably like filtering or something for the transceiver. I'm not 100% sure, and like I said, this is probably like the best I could do with what I have here. And there's this other area over to the bottom left. I'm not entirely sure what all this stuff is. Then this would here is the top left. You can see that there's a bunch of like pads that don't actually have anything going to them. So who knows what the heck those do, but there is a lot of other ones that are used. And then here is the top right of the controller unit there. And there's like, you know, a bunch of little small stuff there. So I thought that, you know, looking at the inside of this, probably like the most interesting part about this whole teardown. I didn't even think about like doing this previously, as I mentioned. So after I found out that I could do this, it was like super cool to be able to actually like see what controls this little thing. So how does this compare to the other Logitech wireless mouse? Well, this one here actually uses a separate device for the sensor and then like all the radio stuff. It actually looks like it's got a little switching power supply over here, probably to boost that 1.5 volts to maybe like 3.3 or something, I'm guessing. And actually I just learned something new about this mouse that I didn't know. It actually has two other buttons here for apparently for tilting this one left and right. As far as the encoder goes, this one actually uses an optical encoder. So it's got either the transmitter and receiver on that side, and I'm guessing that's probably going to be, I don't know, but there's the other side. One of these is the transmitter, the other is the receiver. Actually, this one only has 2 pins, so that's probably the transmitter side, the LED, and then that one's the photo transistor receiver. Lighting's kind of terrible, I'm sorry. Try to get this a little better here. But yeah, and then the micro switches actually look pretty much the same except for the color of the little actuator there. I just bent this thing. Oh, that's because it's yeah, it's not very securely held on there. It looks like there may have been like a spot there for or a little provision to hold this in a little more securely, but actually the only things holding it on are the 3 pins coming out of it there. This one looks like it uses pretty much the same type of battery connector, except it's at 90 degrees. It's not straight up like this one. And we have a crystal, just like here. Little tack switch down here on the bottom. We got our LED, but of course we need that. Actually I just realized the optics. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to this. This actually looks pretty similar to other mice I've seen. So that would kind of be like, you know, mounted like somewhere around there, and looks like that's not too different on that one. This one actually has what looks like test points, so you know they can like fully test the thing. Doesn't look like they really provide anything like that on this one here. And here's the bottom of the Logitech. There's our little power switch there. Got a little QFN package right there. There's the bottom of the optical assembly. So it looks, as we can see, they're really not too different. This one's got a little bit of an extra black thing here, I'm guessing to prevent light leakage from the LED. And the board on this one is obviously a lot nicer than the board that they used here on the way cheaper one. And then there's a lot more work that went into the molding on the more expensive Logitech unit. You can see that there's actually a bunch of extra little pieces here, and obviously this one, like they're using screws to hold everything together, whereas the other one is all just plastic snaps and clips. The wheel assembly is obviously a lot more complicated too. You can see that this has like it's 2 pieces right here alone, and this one's got a spring to prop it back up, and it's got rubber versus it being like one complete assembly like the cheaper wheel. So that's a look at inside the mouse. Now let's see what's inside of the receiver. Alright, here's the receiver. It's like it's a 3-piece job here. Got a little piece on the bottom there, the metal, and then this other piece there. So I'm hoping that I can just pry this open. Let's see. Man, this little thing's a lot tougher than I thought. I mean, it feels like super light, but it's not really budging here. I also really don't want to smash or jab this screwdriver into my fingers, so I'm trying to be somewhat careful. Looks like something's happening right there. Okay, that end was lifting there. Let's see if maybe this comes up. Oh, come on. Alright, judging by these two little bent tabs right there, I'm going to guess that maybe those are what are holding the plastic down in there. Though we can't see them from this side. Alright, this is finally doing something. There we go. Okay, that came off. I was kind of hoping there'd be a, you know, like a sort of like another chip right there, but it's one of those chip on board deals with the epoxy blob on top. And this piece here still has not come off, but this is that little covering piece. It looks like these pieces here are part of that right there. So this looks like it is a two-part thing. This one here still has not come out. And oh, here we go. This is coming out. Was something's stopping it. Okay, there is a cylinder down in there. That's the crystal, and looks like that's actually what's preventing this from coming out all the way. Ah, well, it was bound to happen. There we go. I just jabbed myself in with. I was trying to use this blade to pry it up there. Let's try again. There we go. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have my finger here. So that's finally coming out. There it goes. Okay. Alright, so there's that. There is the side with the contacts, and I can see, or we can see that all we have there is the crystal. Looks like that's a date there, September 23rd of 2015 is when this was built, and it's version 5. Wonder how many they actually have now. And there is our chip on board. Some looks like all we have around, there's capacitors and maybe like one resistor right there. There's actually quite a few unpopulated things, like something right there, something right here, right there. That maybe would have been like a capacitor or something. This right here, but this trace just kind of like runs along there, and that's going to be our antenna right there. You can see what looks like an outline here of where like a marking of where the blob is supposed to be. It's obviously run a little bit more that way, and there's some other markings here. So as we'd expect by the tiny little package, not a whole lot of stuff to see in here either. So that's everything that goes into a very, very cheap $2 wireless mouse. I hope you found that somewhat interesting at least. Thanks guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.